How do you build a single unified nation from over 100 distinct ethnic groups? And how do you weave a common identity from more than 120 different languages, each with its own history, its own traditions, and its own unique worldview? This is not merely a theoretical question, it is the fundamental challenge that has defined the very soul of Tanzania. It's truly the story of a land of breathtaking diversity, from the hunter-gatherers of the Hadzabe to the pastoralist Maasai, a place where ancient cultures have long coexisted. The journey to mold these disparate communities into a cohesive state, to foster a sense of shared destiny while respecting ancestral heritage, is one of the most remarkable political and social narratives in modern African history. It is a testament to the power of vision, compromise, and a collective will to live together in peace. The story of this land begins long before the drawing of colonial maps. It starts with the great migrations that populated this part of the continent. Millennia ago, Bantu-speaking peoples began moving eastward and southward from their cradle in West-Central Africa. They were farmers and iron workers, and as they settled in the fertile lands of what is now Tanzania, they brought new technologies and new ways of life. They established communities, cleared forests for agriculture, and built societies that were deeply connected to the rhythm of the land. These early settlements were the seeds from which a complex tapestry of cultures would grow, laying a deep and ancient foundation for the nation that was yet to come. They were the original pioneers, whose descendants would eventually meet traders from across the seas. These migrations were not a single event, but a slow, unfolding process that lasted for centuries. Different groups arrived at different times, each contributing a new thread to the region's cultural fabric. They interacted with the Cushitic and Khoisan-speaking peoples who were already living there, leading to a rich exchange of knowledge, language, and customs. This historical layering is what gives Tanzania its incredible human depth. It created a landscape not of monolithic uniformity, but of intricate, overlapping societies. Understanding this ancient past is crucial to appreciating the immense task that faced the nation's future leaders. How to build unity not by erasing this diversity, but by embracing it as a source of national strength and collective pride. This profound diversity presented both a challenge and an opportunity. In many parts of the world, such a mix of cultures has often led to conflict and division. Yet in Tanzania, the narrative has largely been one of peaceful coexistence and gradual integration. The question of how this was achieved echoes through every chapter of its history. It's a story that involves visionary leaders, strategic policies, and the everyday choices of ordinary people to see each other not as members of different tribes, but as fellow Tanzanians. The answer lies in a journey that spans ancient coastal empires, the painful era of colonial subjugation, a powerful struggle for freedom, and the deliberate construction of a shared national dream. Long before Europeans set their sights on Africa, the eastern coast of the continent was a thriving hub of global commerce and culture. This was the Swahili Coast, a string of bustling city-states that stretched for hundreds of miles. Cities like Kilwa, Sofala, and the islands of Zanzibar and Pemba were not isolated outposts. They were cosmopolitan centers of power and wealth. Their strategic location on the Indian Ocean made them a natural meeting point for traders from distant lands. From the interior of Africa came gold, ivory, and animal skins, goods highly prized across the world. These resources flowed through the coastal cities, connecting the heart of Africa to a vast and sophisticated international trade network that had existed for centuries. The Indian Ocean monsoon winds were the invisible engine of this global economy. For half the year, the winds blew from the northeast, bringing sailing ships, known as dhows, from Arabia, Persia, and India. These traders brought with them manufactured goods, fine textiles, intricate pottery, gleaming glassware, and books. For the other half of the year, the winds reversed, allowing the dhows to make the return journey, their hulls laden with African treasures. This predictable cycle of winds created a deep and lasting bond between the Swahili Coast and the wider world. It was a relationship built on mutual benefit and cultural exchange, fostering a unique and dynamic civilization that was distinctly African yet globally connected. This constant interaction gave rise to the Swahili culture itself, a rich fusion of African, Arab, Persian, and Indian influences. This blend is most evident in the Swahili language, a Bantu language at its core but enriched with a vast vocabulary from Arabic. It's also visible in the architecture, with its intricately carved wooden doors and coral stone buildings that echo designs from the Middle East. Islam, brought by Arab traders, became a central part of the coastal identity, shaping its laws, its learning, and its social structures. The people of the coast became masterful sailors, skilled merchants, and worldly intellectuals, creating a society that was both prosperous and artistically vibrant, a true jewel of the Indian Ocean. The fame of these cities reached far and wide. The great Moroccan scholar Ibn Battuta visited Kilwa in the 14th century and described it as one of the most beautiful and well-constructed towns he had ever seen. Chinese porcelain from the Ming dynasty has been unearthed by archaeologists all along the coast, evidence of trade links that stretched all the way to East Asia. The wealth of these city-states was legendary. Built on their control of the lucrative trade routes, they minted their own coins, built grand mosques and opulent palaces, and created a world where Africa was not at the periphery of global events, but at its very center, a powerful and influential player on the world stage. The centuries of prosperous Swahili trade were violently disrupted in the late 19th century with the arrival of European colonial powers. The so-called "scramble for Africa" saw European nations carve up the continent among themselves, driven by ambitions of empire, economic exploitation, and strategic advantage. The mainland territory, then known as Tanganyika, was claimed by Germany. The Germans established their rule with brutal efficiency, seeking to extract resources and impose their authority over the diverse peoples of the interior. Their colonial project was not one of partnership or trade, but of domination. They introduced cash crop plantations, forcing local populations to grow cotton and coffee for export, and imposed harsh taxes and labor demands, fundamentally altering traditional economies and ways of life. This foreign imposition was not accepted passively. Resistance to German rule was fierce and widespread. One of the most famous figures of this era was Chief Mkwawa of the Hehe people. A brilliant military strategist, he led a determined guerrilla war against the German colonial forces for nearly a decade in the 1890s. His resistance became a powerful symbol of defiance, inspiring others and demonstrating that colonial authority could be challenged. Though he was eventually defeated, his legacy endured as a story of courage and a refusal to submit to foreign conquest. His struggle represented the deep desire of the people to maintain their sovereignty and protect their heritage from the colonial onslaught. The most significant uprising against German rule was the Maji Maji Rebellion, which erupted between 1905 and 1907. United by a belief in a sacred water, or Maji, that they believed would protect them from German bullets, a coalition of different ethnic groups rose up in a massive coordinated revolt. It was a desperate and powerful attempt to drive out the invaders. The German response was merciless. They crushed the rebellion with overwhelming force and pursued a scorched earth policy, deliberately creating a famine that killed hundreds of thousands of people. The devastating outcome of the Maji Maji Rebellion left a deep scar on the collective memory of the nation, a tragic reminder of the human cost of colonial occupation. Germany's defeat in World War I brought an end to its African empire. Under the newly formed League of Nations, Tanganyika was handed over to the British as a mandated territory. While British rule was generally less overtly brutal than that of the Germans, it was still a system of foreign domination designed to serve British interests. The British governed through a policy of indirect rule, using traditional chiefs and local structures to enforce their policies, but the ultimate power remained firmly in London. This period saw the further development of infrastructure like railways and the expansion of education, but always within a framework that ensured African people remained subjects, not citizens, in their own land, setting the stage for a new kind of struggle, the fight for independence. The winds of change that swept across Africa after World War II fanned the flames of nationalism in Tanganyika. The desire for self-determination grew stronger, fueled by a new generation of educated leaders who envisioned a future free from colonial rule. At the forefront of this movement was a humble and brilliant schoolteacher named Julius Nyerere. His vision was not just for political freedom, but for the creation of a new society built on principles of equality, justice, and African socialism. In 1954, he helped form the Tanganyika African National Union, or TANU, a political party that quickly galvanized popular support across the territory, uniting people from different ethnic and religious backgrounds under a single, powerful call for freedom, Uhuru. Nyerere's leadership was characterized by his powerful oratory and his unwavering commitment to non-violent change. He skillfully navigated the complex political landscape, building a mass movement that was impossible for the British to ignore. His message of unity resonated deeply with a population tired of being divided and ruled. He argued that tribalism was a colonial tool used to weaken the African people, and that their strength lay in their shared identity as Tanganyikans. On December 9, 1961, his efforts and the collective struggle of the people bore fruit. Tanganyika achieved its independence peacefully, and Julius Nyerere became its first prime minister, and later, its president. A new era of hope and self-governance had begun. A few years later, a historic union took place. The neighboring archipelago of Zanzibar, which had its own complex history of Omani rule and a recent violent revolution in 1964, joined with the mainland. On April 26, 1964, the two newly independent states merged to form the United Republic of Tanzania. This union was a significant political achievement, a bold step toward Pan-African unity. The new nation's motto became Uhuru na Umoja, freedom and unity, a phrase that encapsulated the country's founding ideals. It was a declaration that this new nation would be built on the twin pillars of sovereignty and a shared national identity that transcended old divisions. To build this new nation, Nyerere introduced a philosophy of development known as Ujamaa, which means familyhood in Swahili. It was a form of African socialism based on the principles of collective farming, self-reliance, and the nationalization of key sectors of the economy. The policy aimed to create a more egalitarian society and prevent the emergence of a wealthy elite. While the economic outcomes of Ujamaa were mixed and faced significant challenges, its social impact was profound. It fostered a powerful sense of national consciousness and shared purpose. The Ujamaa policy, for all its economic flaws, was instrumental in forging a unified Tanzanian identity where loyalty to the nation was encouraged to rise above loyalty to the tribe. Zanzibar is more than just a part of Tanzania. It is a world unto itself, an archipelago with a history and culture so distinct it continues to shape its unique identity. For centuries these islands, Unguja and Pemba, were a nexus of maritime trade, a place where Africa, Asia, and the Middle East met and mingled. Its story is deeply intertwined with the Omani Sultanate, which moved its capital to Zanzibar in the 19th century. Under Omani rule, the islands became the world's leading producer of cloves and other spices, earning them the name the Spice Islands. This trade brought immense wealth to a ruling Arab elite, but it was built upon the brutal foundation of the slave trade, making Zanzibar one of East Africa's largest slave markets. The heart of this history is Stone Town, the ancient city of Zanzibar, and a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Walking through its narrow winding alleyways is like stepping back in time. The architecture is a breathtaking fusion of Swahili, Arab, Persian, Indian, and European styles. Grand houses with towering verandas stand beside buildings adorned with magnificent, intricately carved wooden doors, many studded with brass knobs, a tradition adapted from India to protect against war elephants. The air in Stone Town is thick with the scent of cloves, cardamom, and cinnamon, a constant reminder of the spice trade that defined its past and continues to influence its present. It is a living museum, a city whose every stone tells a story. The 1964 Zanzibar Revolution was a pivotal and violent turning point in the island's history. The uprising overthrew the Sultan and the ruling Arab minority, ending centuries of their dominance. The revolution was a bloody affair, reflecting deep-seated racial and economic tensions that had simmered for generations. It was a dramatic assertion of power by the island's majority African population. Shortly after this momentous event, Zanzibar's revolutionary government made the historic decision to unite with mainland Tanganyika, forming the United Republic of Tanzania. This union was designed to provide stability and security for the islands while preserving their unique character. Today, Zanzibar maintains a semi-autonomous status within the union. It has its own president, its own parliament, the House of Representatives, and its own judicial system, giving it significant control over its internal affairs, such as education, health, and infrastructure. This political arrangement acknowledges Zanzibar's distinct historical trajectory and cultural identity. The relationship between the mainland and the islands has had its challenges and political tensions over the years, but the union has endured. Zanzibar remains a jewel of Tanzania, a place of stunning beaches, rich history and vibrant culture that attracts visitors from all over the globe, contributing immensely to the nation's cultural and economic tapestry. In a region that has often experienced political instability, modern Tanzania stands out as a remarkable beacon of peace and stability. For decades, the nation has successfully navigated the complexities of its diverse society, maintaining a harmonious coexistence among its many ethnic and religious groups. This achievement is not accidental. It is the result of the foundational principles of unity and a shared national identity laid down in the early years of independence. The country's successful transition to a multi-party democracy in the 1990s further solidified its political maturity, allowing for greater political expression while preserving national cohesion. This stability has made Tanzania a respected leader and a stabilizing force in the Great Lakes region of Africa. The country is blessed with some of the most spectacular natural wonders on the planet, which form the backbone of its thriving tourism industry. It is home to the Serengeti National Park, famous for its annual great migration of millions of wildebeest and zebra, one of the most awe-inspiring spectacles in the natural world. Here too stands Mount Kilimanjaro, Africa's highest peak, its snow-capped summit rising majestically from the savannah. This iconic mountain attracts thousands of climbers and adventurers each year. From the pristine beaches of Zanzibar to the vast Sealess Game Reserve and the unique ecosystem of the Ngorongoro crater, Tanzania's commitment to conservation has preserved a natural heritage of global importance. This natural wealth has fueled significant economic growth. Tourism is a major source of foreign exchange and employment, creating opportunities for local communities and funding conservation efforts. Beyond tourism, Tanzania's economy has been diversifying and growing steadily. The country is rich in mineral resources including gold, diamonds, and the unique gemstone tanzanite, found nowhere else on Earth. Recent discoveries of large offshore natural gas reserves hold the promise of further economic transformation. The government has focused on improving the business climate and investing in infrastructure such as ports, railways, and roads to unlock the nation's economic potential and improve the lives of its citizens. One of the most enduring legacies of the nation's early policies is the promotion of Swahili as a national language. This single decision was transformative. By making Swahili the language of government, schools, and everyday communication, Tanzania created a powerful tool for national unity. It allowed people from over 100 different ethnic groups to communicate with one another, breaking down tribal barriers and fostering a sense of shared identity. This, combined with early campaigns that dramatically increased literacy rates, empowered the population and helped forge a cohesive society. Today, Tanzanians may speak their mother tongue at home, but in the public square, they are united by the common language of Swahili. Despite its many successes, Tanzania faces significant challenges as it looks toward the future. Poverty remains a persistent issue, particularly in rural areas, where many people still rely on subsistence agriculture. Youth unemployment is a growing concern for a country with a very young population. Creating enough jobs to match the number of young people entering the workforce each year is a monumental task. Furthermore, like many nations, Tanzania is increasingly vulnerable to the impacts of climate change. Changing weather patterns threaten agriculture, coastal communities face the risk of rising sea levels, and the nation's precious ecosystems are under pressure. Addressing these complex issues requires careful planning, sustained investment, and innovative solutions. In response to these challenges, the country has articulated a long-term development framework known as Tanzania Development Vision 2025. This ambitious plan aims to transform Tanzania from a low-income country into a middle-income economy characterized by high-quality livelihoods, peace, stability, and unity. A central pillar of this vision is a massive investment in human capital. The government is focused on expanding access to quality education at all levels, from primary school to university, and improving vocational training to equip young people with the skills needed for a modern economy. The vision recognizes that the nation's greatest resource is its people, and that investing in them is the surest path to sustainable development. Another key component of Vision 2025 is the commitment to sustainable and green development. Tanzania is embracing the potential of renewable energy, investing in hydropower, solar, and geothermal projects to power its growing economy while protecting its environment. This focus on sustainability extends to agriculture, with efforts to promote climate-smart farming techniques that can increase yields and build resilience to drought. By pursuing a green growth path, Tanzania aims to achieve economic progress without sacrificing the natural heritage that makes it so unique. It is a forward-looking strategy that seeks to balance the needs of the present with the well-being of future generations. The story of Tanzania is one of extraordinary resilience. It is a nation that has journeyed from being a crossroads of ancient empires to a victim of colonial exploitation, and has emerged as a sovereign, peaceful, and unified country. Its path has not been without difficulties, but its people have consistently chosen unity over division and peace over conflict. As it moves toward its future, guided by its vision and drawing strength from its rich history, Tanzania continues to write its own story. It is a story of hope, a testament to the idea that a nation of immense diversity can be bound together by a shared dream, bridging its ancient past with a bright and promising future for all its people.